While I paralyzed, my wife cheated me with our deceitful neighbor, and I could do nothing to stop it. My name is Ethan John, and the past 2 years have been a whirlwind of agony, betrayal, and ultimately redemption. It all started with a tragic accident that left me paralyzed, completely motionless, unable to speak, a prisoner in my own body. But what followed was even more horrifying, a series of betrayals that shattered my world. Yet against all odds, I found a way to not only survive but thrive. This is my story. It was a bright afternoon when my life took a devastating turn. I was riding my motorcycle when a truck driver, oblivious to my presence, pulled out onto the highway. The impact was brutal. My memories of the crash are hazy. Just a flash of metal, a sickening crunch, then darkness. When I regained consciousness in the hospital, I was trapped inside my body. I could breathe. I could blink. But that was all. The doctors told me I was lucky to be alive. Lucky. The word felt like a cruel joke. I couldn't move. I couldn't even swallow without assistance. Every basic function of life was suddenly beyond my control. The only silver lining, if it could be called that, was the multi-million-dollar settlement I received from the transportation company. The funds ensured that my wife, Laura, and I would be financially stable for life. But money couldn't mend what had been broken inside me. After 6 months in the hospital, I was finally sent home. I thought things would get better. I was wrong. At first, Laura tried to care for me. She fed me, bathed me, did what she could, but quickly became evident that she wasn't up to the task, particularly with the more intimate aspects of my care. So she sought help. Enter Greg Wallace, our neighbor, a man I once considered a friend. He worked as an attorney at Laura's law firm and often gave her rides to work. His wife, Callie, a nurse, would check in on me occasionally, ensuring I was stable. Initially, I was grateful. I believed they were helping. But Greg had other intentions. What started as subtle advances soon turned into something insidious. I was unable to speak, unable to defend myself, yet I witnessed it all. I heard the whispers, the stolen kisses. I listened to my wife moaning in the next room as Greg took what he wanted. But the betrayal didn't stop there. Greg would come into my room afterward, a wicked smirk on his face, and taunt me about what he had just done with my wife. And then the abuse began. I don't know how to describe the helplessness I felt. He treated me as though I were nothing more than a toy for his amusement. And Laura, whether out of ignorance or willful blindness, never suspected a thing. She would come in after her showers, blissfully unaware of the torment I endured in her absence, and thank Greg for helping me. The breaking point came when Greg installed a camera in my room, linking it to a monitor, forcing me to watch him defile my wife. I wanted to scream. I wanted to die, but I could do nothing. Then, one day, salvation came in the form of Dr. Franklin Victor. Dr. Victor was a pioneer in advanced medical research. When he entered my room, he came with an offer, an experimental procedure that could potentially restore my mobility. It sounded like a miracle, and I had nothing to lose. I blinked once to indicate my consent. The procedure was complex. Dr. Victor and his team would replace my damaged vertebrae with custom-made, stronger alternatives. Tiny electrical implants would assist in healing my nerves. It was risky, but I clung to hope. After the operation, I was kept immobile for days. But then, something incredible happened. I felt tingling, then sensation, then movement. Within days, I could wiggle my toes, then my fingers. Then, finally, I spoke my first words in nearly a year. I was reborn. As I regained my strength, I knew what needed to be done. With Dr. Victor's help, I reported Greg's crimes to the authorities. Investigators collected DNA evidence. My lawyer, Jacob, built an airtight case. Laura and Greg had no idea what was coming. When the day of reckoning arrived, I walked, into that courtroom, watching their faces contort with shock. They were charged with multiple crimes, including abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. The evidence was damning. Video footage, witness testimonies, medical records. They had no defense. Laura sobbed, claiming she had no idea. I didn't believe her. Greg, arrogant to the end, tried to weasel his way out of it. The jury wasn't convinced. Verdict, guilty. Greg was sentenced to 450 years in prison for his crimes. Laura, while spared from the worst charges, was sentenced to 15 years for her role in the conspiracy. After the trial, I focused on my recovery. The physical therapy was brutal, but with the help of a dedicated team, I rebuilt myself. Stronger, better. And then there was Megan, my night nurse, my guardian angel. She stayed by my side, offering comfort when I needed it most. She never saw me as broken. She saw me as a man worth saving. Love blossomed. 6 months after my divorce was finalized, Megan and I married. She was my miracle, my redemption. Together, we built a family, and I found a happiness I never thought possible. Today, I am healthier and stronger than I ever was before the accident. Dr. Victor's procedure became a groundbreaking medical advancement, helping others just like me. But more importantly, I found love, happiness, and peace. Looking back,